Do you have a lot of spinach and want to preserve it before it goes bad? Well, you're in luck. Today, I'm going to show you multiple ways to preserve your spinach. It's Jody with All About the Harvest. For all things food related, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to be notified every Wednesday when I release a new video. So one of the first ways that I prolong the life of my spinach is by using containers that are specifically made to prolong the life of the spinach. So I have a large bag of spinach here, and obviously I'm not going to be able to eat all this at once. So there are a couple ways that I prolong the life of my spinach. First, I use these containers. It's called Fridge Smart containers by Tupperware. Now, I'm not a Tupperware consultant, but I purchased a bunch of these. They come in different sizes. This is the only round one, but they have a lot. They have long ones, short ones, different sizes and colors. So the bigger ones like this come with instructions on them that tell you different foods that you put in here, how you should have the vents. So on the front of these, there are these two vents, and they can either be opened or closed. I swear by these. They make all of my produce last longer. I use them for not only spinach, I use them for everything. I love these. I will put a link to how to get these in the description below this video. So for spinach, it says that both vents should be open. So I'm going to open both of these. Now, when you put them in here, I'm just taking the spinach and I'm putting it directly into the container. I'm not washing the spinach. You're going to wait to wash your spinach until you actually eat it. Once you wash it, it's going to start to degrade, I guess. Now, some spinach says that it's been washed 3 times and you don't need to wash it. So this does not say that. It says it's ready to eat, but it doesn't say that it was washed 3 times or that, you know. So I actually am going to wash it before use. So, but this container, so I'm just adding it in there as is, put the lid on, make sure both vents are open, and I stick this in my fridge. This will prolong the life of anything by at least 3 weeks. I've actually done tests where I had some in different foods in bags and also in here. And sometimes it wasn't a purposeful test. It was just I didn't have any more of these containers. So I had the same produce that was in the containers and that was like in the crisper. And the ones that were in here always last longer. So in 2020, I reached out to my friend who originally sold me these years ago. I said, "Do you still have any more of these?" And she had some in stock that she had at her house. So I bought basically the rest of these from her because I love them that much. But again, I'll put a link to them in the description below. So love these. These, again, use them for the spinach, but any produce. I swear by these. So I have had carrots in mine since the fall. It is March 20th, 2021. And I've had carrots from my CSA in there since the fall, and they're still fine. It's amazing. So get these. This is the first method of prolonging the use or prolonging the life of your spinach. This is the first one I recommend. Just going to set this back here. So the second method is going to be freezing. Now there's multiple ways to freeze them. So this first method I'm going to show you, this is a salad spinner, and I put some greens in here and I already rinsed them, but I did not spin them. So if you don't have a salad spinner, salad spinners are amazing for getting the liquid off of your lettuce or berries, things like that. So very simple. Just do this a few times. Now this one has a little break on it so that it will be a little bit more abrupt and kind of shake that water off. This one is a Pampered Chef one called their salad spinner. Okay, so I did that a couple times, and I'm not sure if you can see, but there's water in the bottom here. I'm just going to dump it in my sink. Now, I'll do it one more time. I'll just kind of move them around just to show you. And then what I'm going to do with these, I'm actually going to freeze these on a tray so they're like individual spinach leaves basically. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to be able to use these more in different, like we do some egg bakes and I can throw these in there. I could use these in smoothies and things like that. And there's a couple other recipes that I make where it calls for spinach, and the whole leaf spinach would be better. Now, these, I'm not going to use these in a salad because when they freeze, the cell walls are going to break down, but I am going to use it in recipes that I bake or cook that have them in. They're already going to be wilted. I just took out, this is a tray that goes into my freezer. It slides and there's little air vents here. And what I'm going to do is just set these right in there. Now, it's not going to be perfect, but I'm just going to set them in there to kind of get these to dry a little bit more individually. Now, I don't have to do this because this would be like, then I could pull some out. I wouldn't need to pull out all of them. You could just put these in a Ziploc bag, lie the Ziploc bag down flat, and then put these in, kind of squeeze out the air and freeze them that way. And that's probably what I'll do with some of the other ones. If you don't have this particular shelf, you could use a baking sheet. I do have a freezer downstairs, a chest freezer, so I could do them on a baking sheet in the chest freezer if I wanted to. I'm just going to do them like this for right now. And this I might just do a bag like this so that I could pull out more like individual pieces versus big chunks. So that's pretty much it. I'm just going to do that for now just to show you, and then I'll put this in my freezer. The other way that you can do these, like I mentioned, so the rest of these I'll put in I'll probably actually wash some more and then put them, like I had mentioned, in that Ziploc bag, and then I'll do them flat that way. So that's a couple ways you can do it with freezing whole spinach leaves. The other way to do this with spinach leaves that aren't whole is two ways. One way I've done in the past is I've actually just taken these and put them in my blender with a little bit of water, and then I've blended them up, and then I put them in a Ziploc bag and then just froze them flat. And then what I use those for smoothies. So a lot of times I'll make, or I call them green drinks, and I will make, I'll put some greens in there, I'll put in some fruit, ice, sometimes cucumber, different things like that. If I'm doing smoothie, obviously I'm doing yogurt. So I will use them that way as well. So if you know that that's what you're going to do them for, then you can just blend it up, and then you don't have to worry about the individual spinach leaves themselves. So that's one way to do it. Another way you could do it with that is if you're using that blender, you could also put them in ice cube trays, and then you take the ice cubes, and then you put them in a Ziploc bag. You could also vacuum seal those ice cubes so that they stay fresher longer. Vacuum sealing definitely does that. And then you could also put them, in a food processor, and then and you could put them in the ice cube trays as well. They'll be a little bit more chunky. So instead of blended in liquid, you could make it so they're more like chopped spinach. You could physically chop the spinach as well by hand, but you could put them, try to pulse it a little bit in the food processor and make it more of a chopped spinach. And with that, I would also, you could either put them again just in a Ziploc bag or in ice cube trays and then vacuum seal after the ice cube is formed, or you could just put the ice cubes in a Ziploc bag as well. So that's what I recommend for freezing your spinach. I don't blanch my spinach. I actually prefer it this way. Some people will say if you're not blanching your spinach and you're freezing it, you're going to want to use it within 6 months, that it might like change color. So I'm not worried about that. I've not had that problem with the spinach that I've put in the blender and put in the freezer. I've had stuff in there for more than 6 months, and that didn't turn colors. It wasn't a problem. I have not tried it with whole leaf spinach because I have not actually frozen whole leaf spinach before. But what made me think about this is I just purchased frozen whole leaf spinach from the grocery store for some of the recipes that I was mentioning earlier that I would use it in. And I never thought, well, why am I doing that myself? I have all of this. It's a heck of a lot more cost effective for me to get a big bag and make all these different things than to buy one little 10-ounce bag of frozen spinach at the store. This is method number 2, freezing. And then method number 3, I will come back to in just a moment. So the third way that I use to preserve my spinach leaves is via the dehydrator. The prep is the same as for freezing. You are going to want to wash your spinach leaves if they are not triple washed. So you wash them and you spin them. Then you just take them and you put them on your dehydrator trays. Now you could get real picky and place these, not touching one another, but I find that is way too difficult. So I just make sure they have plenty of room to breathe, but I'm not super worried about if they're touching because it's inevitable. So when you dehydrate these, put these on the dehydrator trays, you'll notice they kind of stick up a little bit. I have the Excalibur 9 tray dehydrator. I absolutely love it. In instances like this where things are kind of sticking up a little bit, what I do is, as you can see, right now I'll have 4 trays in there. I don't put all the trays in when it's something like this. So I just go every other. I could probably put those trays in there, but then when you go to pull them out, they get caught and then they fall. And so I will just do 4 trays of these for today. And then I will, when these are done, I'll run another batch. The spinach won't take that long. So I'm back after dehydrating that spinach, and I just wanted to remind you 110 degrees is the temperature that you'll use on your dehydrator if you have a temperature setting on your dehydrator. If you don't, you'll just dehydrate until your spinach is dry and crunchy. The length of time that it takes to dehydrate, whether you have a temperature setting or not, just really depends on, well, it does depend on the temperature setting, but it also, if you have a temperature setting and you're using it at 110 degrees, it depends on the amount of humidity in your home and how you pack the dehydrator and things like that. So I put the spinach in the dehydrator and you saw it was on those 4 shelves. After, I'm going to guess it was about an hour. I'm not really sure how long it was, but I'm going to guess about an hour. The spinach started to get wilty and then it wasn't quite so puffy. So then I could put more spinach on additional trays and slide them in. So I did end up filling the dehydrator with spinach. So I just wanted to let you know that. So initially I couldn't, but then I waited till the spinach wilted down and then I was able to actually put more spinach in there. So I did do an entire dehydrator full. This is just some of the spinach. So again, I use half-gallon jars, big jars for this, and I vacuum seal the top of these so that they're airtight. I do have a video on how to vacuum seal dried goods in mason jars or just in jars, and I will put a link to that video here, and then I will also add a link to that at the end of this video and also in the description of this video so you can refer to it when you need. As you can see, this particular spinach is just whole leaf. You can use your spinach in multiple ways. One of the ways you can use it is whole leaf. Another way that you can use it is by actually powdering it. So if I'm going to powder it, I usually wait until I'm ready to use it to powder it. The benefits of powdering it is that you can, it's a lot less space. This will probably powder down into something very, very small. But I like the fact that I could use this in any recipe. So if I powder it, I can't use it in something that I would need the leaf in. So you can rehydrate this, and you would just put it in water. It's not going to rehydrate like actual spinach that you're going to use in a salad, but you could use it in things like egg bakes or quiches. You could use it in smoothies and things like that. You don't even have to rehydrate it for smoothies, so you could just put the dried leaves in there. You can powder them up. Same thing, you could actually do that in your egg bakes and quiches as well. Some people will actually powder these and use them in a pill format. Other people will use it and put it into things like meatloaf, so you can kind of hide it into some food so that your children or husband or wife don't know, depending who's cooking. Another way that I plan on using some of the spinach that we preserved in this video is, so I already mentioned smoothies. Yes, powdering it. You can powder it with kale and other greens. You can have like a green powder mix. Again, you could use that in a vitamin, but you can also use that in food. The other way that I will use it is and I might use some of the frozen spinach for this, but I have made a pesto vegetarian lasagna. It was absolutely phenomenal, and that recipe called for spinach, and so I have used frozen chopped spinach in that before, but I think I could use any of the versions that I used today, so either the whole leaf frozen spinach or the dried spinach. I would rehydrate it if I was going to use the dried, if I was out of frozen, or I could powder it and just add that in because you're going to get the nutrients from it. So those are a couple ideas. You could also use it in calzones, and this is any of those, any of those methods. So you could use it in calzones. You can use them in casseroles. You can use it in soups. Those would definitely be easy ways to use it. Another way that I plan on using it is in spinach artichoke dip. So just multiple ways to use it. So how do you plan to use your preserved spinach, and which methods do you plan on using? Is it going to be dehydrated? Is it going to be frozen? Is it going to be use those really nice Tupperware containers to prolong them? A combination. And if you freeze it, are you going to do whole leaf? Are you going to chop it? Put it in ice cube trays? You can use multiple ways, obviously, to do that. So let me know how you think you're going to preserve your excess spinach. Commenting on the video does help my video get seen by more eyes, so I appreciate it. If you know someone who's always throwing out their spinach greens before they get to actually use them, share this video with them so they know how they can preserve their spinach to last longer. If you've liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want more videos like this, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit that bell button. That ensures that you get a notification of my content each week when I release a new video on Wednesday. Thank you to all of you who like my videos, comment on them, and subscribe to my channel. My channel really does benefit from that, so I thank you. Well, I hope you learned something about preserving spinach today. Don't forget to comment below, and I'll see you next week.